Hey, Justin here from Modern Mixing. So today I'm going to be doing a review and I'm going to be doing some demonstrations on the Little Primaltap, which is a plugin that Soundtoys just released. It's free until March 28th, and then as they say, it's after that it becomes lost in the abyss. It's non-existent, as if this never even happened. So if you want to download it, I would say go do that right now. There's a link below and you can click on it. It'll take you directly to their website, and from there it'll give you all the information that you need as far as what you need to do to get this plugin. So this plugin is based off of an old Lexicon digital delay unit called the Prime Time, and according to Soundtoys website, they're saying that the one really unique factor about that delay unit was this multiply knob here. So every time you increase the delay by a factor of 2 or 4 or 8, every time you go up this multiply factor here, it reduces the sample rate by 2. So effectively what you're doing is you're taking out some top end, and I mean sample rate reduction isn't quite that simple, but that's effectively what you're doing, is you're restricting the top end. So you're getting some unique tones on that delay itself, and then obviously there's some other adjustments here that you can make to even make it more different and more unique, and I'm going to go through that now. So the first thing is this time adjustment knob here, and you can go anywhere from 0 all the way up to 512, and I think there's a little bit of a bug or quirk in here because it doesn't let me go to 512, but essentially that's what it does. It goes from 0 to 512, and the original unit only went up to 256, but Soundtoys, being the good guys that they are, they decided, you know what, let's double that. Let's go up to 512 so that we can give the user even more creative possibilities. Then after that you have the adjust knob here, and it's on the very far left is 1 times, and then you go all the way to the right, it's 0.5. And really what that does is when you come all the way over to 0.5, that just halves your time here. So if your time is, to keep it simple, let's say 200, and if you go all the way to 0.5, now your delay time is going to be 100. But that's not really the unique thing about this knob here. The unique thing about this knob is that if you sort of rotate it, and say you use your automation and you kind of do some crazy automation moves like this, then what you're doing is you're introducing some flanging, some coursing, and some other weird warping effects. And the thing I like about it is that you never really know what you're going to get. You just have to sit there and play with it, and then it sort of does some weird, crazy things. And then once you finally land on something that you like, you can, record that or sort of draw on your automation, and then you can, work off of it from there. After that, we got the multiply knob here, and like I mentioned before, every time we go up a step here, it reduces the sample rate by a factor of 2. And as you can see here, this is sort of where we cut things off. So if I'm on 1 times here, you can see that the cutoff is at 12 kilohertz. At 2, it's 6 kilohertz, 4, 3, and then so on and so forth. So this is what these bottom numbers here represent. Then after that, we got our input knob here, and when it's all the way down at 0, your input, whatever comes into the plugin is sort of getting mangled and twisted and delayed and then goes out. But every time you increase this, you're not only increasing the gain, but you're also adding some saturation to it and some distortion, which is kind of interesting. It kind of has a unique flavor to it. It sort of reminds me of the Decapitator a little bit, the tone from that. But another interesting thing about this input knob, and anyone else who's tried this plugin, I don't know if they've noticed this before or not, but the more I start to increase this, it feels like the stereo image of that delay is becoming wider. That's another thing I noticed about that knob, which is kind of cool. And next we have the feedback knob here, and this just sets the amount of delay that you want to repeat. It's pretty simple. And then also the mix knob, so how much dry, which is all the way down here, versus how much wet you want, and then sort of anything in between that. So that's it. So those knobs, hopefully I was able to help you understand those settings a little bit. And now we can do some sort of demonstration. So I was talking about the sample rate and how it reduces. So the best thing to do to sort of show you clearly what it's doing is I have a drum loop here set up. What I did is I'm going to set it to 0, so I'm not really adding any delay time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch from each setting here on the multiply knob here, and you'll see that the delay, or you'll hear that the drums are going to become more and more lo-fied as I keep going up this chain here. Let's check it out. So yeah, so there you go. That sort of gives you an idea of what the distortion's like, and also again the multiply knob here with the sample rate reduction. But from there we can get onto some of the delays. I have a guitar set up here, and it's timed with the track right now. Another interesting thing too is with this time knob here, you don't have to be so limited to, okay, this is my time and now let me start manipulating the multiply functions here, because I can effectively achieve this 375 time, you know, a couple of different ways, and it gives me two sort of different ways to approach that sound. So one way is just to strictly use it as 375, the way I see it here is the number displayed. Have the adjust set to, you know, ×1, and then have my multiply to ×1, and I'm strictly going to get a 375 millisecond delay. So let me play it now. Okay, so that sounded cool, but let's just say we feel like that delay is just a little bit too bright. So one thing to do is, you know, you can set up the delay on an aux channel, mix 100% wet, bust out your EQ, roll off that top end. Or another way you can do is you can simply just, you know, cut this in half to 0.5 and then multiply it by 2. So effectively what we're doing is 375, it goes into the adjust knob here, it divides it by 2, so now we're at, you know, 187.5 or whatever it is, and then we're multiplying it back by 2, so now we're back at 375, but we've basically reduced the high end just a little bit, so our delay now is not so, there's not so much high end in our delay. So let's check it out. Quickly, I'll go back to the original, see if you can notice the difference. And if you want to take it even a step further, bring this down to we can't get 187.5, but we can get 188. Then we divide that by 2, and then we multiply it by 4. Now again, we're back to 375, but our delay, the top end, is cut off even more, because every time you go up the step, like I said, you reduce your sample rate. So let's check that out. Now I was talking about the adjust knob here. The more that you move it around, the more warping and phasing and flanging effects you're going to get. So let's try and introduce some of that now. So yeah, so I mean, not a ton of examples here. I just really wanted to show you quickly what, you know, some of the possibilities are. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there that are watching this right now, their mind is just going crazy right now with all the crazy things that they can do, and that's great. You know, like I said, go download it, try it out, and you know, even though this is sort of their limited version, this is a smaller version of the full plugin they're going to be releasing. This delay unit itself, there's so many capabilities that this thing can do. So it's honestly, it's mind-blowing with just a couple of knobs here, like the amount of things that you can do. It's pretty cool. So that's it. I mean, honestly, it's a really cool plugin. I'm going to be starting to introduce this into my workflow, and I think a lot of other people are going to follow suit. So anyways, that's it for this. Take care, and I will see you on the next video. Make yourself just trust me. See the best in me. If you haven't read the